friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today it's actually going to be the third installment in my Preparedness Testimonies. Now, these are testimonies that have been sent to me from my followers. And so last year I did a couple of different ones, and at the time had not intended of actually doing a series, but then decided this would be a great series just to continue on, because there's so many people that have been into preparedness, whether it be most of their lives or even for just 6 months, that have great testimonies they can share about either how they got there in a very budget friendly way, or how they've had to fall back on what they had, or even both, because of various circumstances that came along. And because of those circumstances, and because they either already had some food stores or some kind of backup power or whatever, they were able to make it through pretty simply. So today I've got 2 stories. So I'll probably be anywhere from 1 to 3 stories for each one of these, because they're usually going to be a little bit on the longer side. So let's get started with this first one. From experience, you can work on a preparedness journey with little money. We've been doing it for years and we'll never stop. When we first started, we were pretty broke. My husband and I became aware long ago when we read William Forstchen's book. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I've heard of the book, but not the name, actually, funny enough. 1 second after, when it first came out, it blew our minds. We had already been living off-grid, Nevada mountains, an hour outside of Las Vegas, because we still had careers there in the city. We commuted. We chose to live off-grid because we were done with that city, had been for decades, and it was peaceful in our tiny mountain village. Little did we know that our preparedness journey would start there. When folks started calling us preppers, we embraced it. It's important to note, we weren't working on preparedness out of fear. No, for us, it was about common sense and being able to be a helper to others in the world, as well as being responsible for ourselves and not burden others. Back then, my husband was a painter and I was a school teacher, and our income was small in comparison. And to what most married couples made in our age categories in Las Vegas, Nevada, we had very little expendable income, especially since we were financially helping family members then. We gardened and started a small orchard and got to where we grew most of our vegetables. We raised goats, chickens, and turkeys, which mainly free-ranged on our little 2/3 acre lot. We used our land and space well. Also, feed back then was cheap. We were busy and it was fun. I learned water bath canning from my mom and dad when I was a kid, but knew nothing about pressure canning. So I learned after I found a used pressure canner from a garage sale for only $10. And just to add to that, even though I'd already bought a pressure canner, like the full size, not the big fat one, the second to the biggest size, an all-American pressure canner, and paid full price for it, and I'd been using it for a little while. There was a garage sale down the road a few years back, and they had 2 pressure canners that they look brand new, and they're both all-American pressure canners. We bought them both for $20 total. She was only going to charge us $5 a piece for them, so we paid her twice as much because we knew they were worth even more than that. So we gave one to my daughter-in-law, and then I kept the smallest one in case I ever just that's been nice, in case I ever wanted to just can a small amount of something and not have to fill up my whole big pressure canner, because I don't like running it unless I've got it full. That's just the way I am. Anyway, back to her story. What a score. Mason jars, we gathered these from an elderly couple in our village who are moving, hundreds of them for free. Same here. We've got so many free canning jars over the years, and some that we paid very little for at garage sales. My husband is a hunter too. Our goal was to hunt or grow much of our meat. That was difficult in Nevada because tags had become rather scarce. But now that we're in North Idaho, our meat is free. We hunt right from our property every year. We literally never buy meat at the store. That is so great. That is really wonderful. With that old $10 pressure canner, I made and still do bone broth from deer, antelope, and poultry. We can up enough tomatoes every year to last well over a year, as well as peppers, cucumbers, and fruit. We grew fruit trees and now have a full orchard. Just keep adding a few trees a year, and you're not going to break the bank. Besides canning, we ferment, dehydrate, and freeze foods and herbal medicines. Someday I'd love a freeze dryer. That's a goal, and maybe I can find one used. Though I will add, you guys know how I am about freeze dryers. They, if you love freeze-dried food and that's your thing, sure, there's a lot of people that are happy with it, but at the same time, it's not a necessary item. It's actually more of a luxury item. So dehydrating has been used for thousands of years for putting up food to get through the winter, be it meat, fruits, vegetables, and more. So, and you can do that without even investing in dehydrators. You can use the power of the sun or your wood stove or other means to dehydrate. Anyway, another skill I learned from my dad as a kid was foraging for wild edibles. Years later, I learned about wild medicine. Foraging is free, and I began making plant medicine with the desert plants of the Mojave Desert. Amazing. Who knew? God is so good to us here in this earthly realm, and He gave us plant medicine everywhere, even in the deserts. I love this. This is one of the reasons I teach herbalism now. It's the people's medicine. The best thing about self-sufficient lifestyle is that you can be a giver to others. You can share knowledge. You can share food and plant medicine. You can be a helper in the world. I think it's the best way to love your neighbor, as we are commanded to do in the good book. I'm not sharing any names, but if people come in and watch this and they've heard their story, they're welcome to put in comments down below, hey, that's me, that's my story. I'm the one that shared this, that, the other thing. Feel free to do that. But for now, just like with the healing testimonies, I'm just leaving names out to be on the safe side. Moving on, so the second story. I don't think I've ever not been prepared. This is my standard answer to people that either accuse or praise me for being a prepper. I was born in 1951. My family was as poor as Job's turkey. Mama and Daddy didn't know what a prepper was. They knew how to keep body and soul in one spot and taught us to know how to do it. I was raised in a multi-generational family that told me stories of 4 different wars, droughts, and all manner of things that could and did happen. There's nothing, not one single thing, romantic or desirable about having to walk 100 yards to an outhouse after dark in 15-degree weather, or suffering through 95 degrees breezeless nights trying to go to sleep so you can get up at 4 a.m. and build a fire in a wood stove to make breakfast. I wanted to be able to go to the grocery store and buy things. I wanted cute shoes and vacations. Mama knew what I needed. Most of our great-great-great-grandparents were raised like this unless they were blessed enough to have servants that emptied a chamber pot for them or a separate cookhouse. Look up dog trot houses. I remember crying in the 50s because I couldn't have ice cubes. Today, a teenager would have a hissy fit if the ice maker broke. You want to see panic? Let the power go out long enough, the phones stop working. Preppers today have enough hindsight to realize that society is one lockdown away from starvation and no medical assistance. Will it happen? It just did. Empty store shelves in hospitals, turning away everyone except the people they thought they might be able to save. I called the hospital during the virus. I was too sick to do more than stagger, and my husband couldn't even sit up in bed. I was told, don't come to the hospital. We don't have a place to put you. Do I want to be a prepper with dozens of 50-gallon buckets of freeze-dried meals, or in a storehouse that will run out and not be able to be replaced? No. Though I do have some of my preps stored in buckets, I want to be who I am, knowing as many things as I can to help me make it through the next emergency. Be it a broken leg that keeps me off my feet for 6 weeks, a new virus that keeps me locked down for months, or a weather emergency that decimates the world economy for a couple of years. I don't want people that don't know any better throwing the word prepper at me like it leaves a nasty taste in their mouth if 1 week after a long-term emergency they're going to be begging on the nearest corner. So she makes really excellent points, and I do want to add to that. When we got started on this journey, it actually started more of just for the sake of convenience. I've shared this before, of just having the food items on hand when I needed it. Like if I just had a desire that I want to make this meal instead of this meal that I'd already planned for, I changed my mind. I've already got the items in my pantry to make those things, or the things that I use most frequently, such as tomatoes and flour and so much more. And the fact that I could save a lot of money by buying these items in bulk, spices and herbs and so on, it just made sense to me to start putting these things up and then just cycling through it and then restocking what I had. And it didn't grow into a more preparedness mindset until much later. That is according to what modern society sees a prepper as. For me, it was just the convenience, but then we started realizing the importance of having things to fall back on no matter what happens. You know, around here, power outages are the norm. They happen several a year, usually in the middle of winter. And so we've always been prepared for those things, at least for the sake of heat and light. And then eventually got a better wood stove that I taught myself right away how to cook on. Just figured out ways to do it. And I have a couple of videos out on that. And so the thing is, it wasn't for us when we decided this, it wasn't about running out and buying cans and cans and cans of freeze-dried food. I did later on invest in some so I could try it and also have some in food storage just as another backup. But it was more about the skills and then starting a garden and growing these things. Because just like Zach at American Homestead is always saying that I'm going to get his wording wrong, but the next logical step is starting a homestead. So you learn how to garden, you learn how to raise livestock, even if it's just quail or chickens. Like we have chickens. That's all we have when it comes to livestock, because we don't have space for anything bigger than that here where we're at right now. We're always learning new skills all the time and learning ways to do things without power and ways to fix things, repair things, make things ourselves, be it clothes or some kind of food or some kind of homemade medicine. That's something we're always doing. That's where you become more self-sufficient, not depending on 2 years worth of freeze-dried food that you're going to forget about somewhere, or even fancy equipment, be it a dehydrator or freeze dryer or anything else. Those things can be nice to have, and they can be nice to help you get down that road, especially as you're growing a garden and you're putting all this stuff up and canning. If you don't have power or a way to run your dehydrators or freeze dryers, or just another way to put up your food, like drying things without power, then you're going to be in a tight spot when you don't have any power. So you got to learn how to do things without being dependent on public utilities and grocery stores. So anyway, that's just my little addition to this. I know I talk about this stuff all the time, and I got another video I'm shooting today on a very similar topic. So I'm going to close this out so you can get on to shooting that, but make sure you check out the Preparedness Testimonies playlist I'll be linking to down below, because as of this one, there'll be 3 in there, and there'll be many more to come. And if you're interested in sharing your own testimony, please email that to me at raincountryhomestead@gmail.com with the title Preparedness Testimony, and then all I do is just drop it in the folder. I usually don't read it right away. I just drop it in the proper folder, and then I start with the oldest ones first and work my way up the list. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be watching for more to come, and please share any thoughts, ideas, and comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.